that way we can really answer when the need is necessary. Okay, so recording started. I will now share my screen. Now I can't find the share button. There you go. It's been a long day. Okay, so you can see the PowerPoint presentation, writing strategies for a done dissertation. Yes? Yes, thumbs up. Thank you, Paul. You're one of the few who has your camera on, so you're gonna be my thumb man. Thank you. Okay, so talking points. Some things I want to talk about. Oh no, not more webinars. Congratulations, strategies for a done dissertation. And I have 4 points there. Number 4, there's so much that I could share with you. I'm just going to go through in bullet point when I get to number 4, and we can go as deep or as wide as that the case might be, and then question and answers. So please remember to mute your mics.
Oh, yeah, I was like, I didn't know if you told me.
I am going to have to stop and mute everybody. Okay, I think it's muted. Okay, so, oh no, not more webinars. Thought this was something I wanted to begin with, because I think one of the joys for most students once they get back the coursework is that they're on their own time and their own schedule, and they don't have to attend any more webinars. Do I have a witness? They don't have to turn in any particular assignment. So why did we come up with the dissertation writing circle? Because we found, and if you talk to students who are in the writing phase, once you get out of the structure of the coursework setting, sometimes it's hard to find your bearing, to really get going. That scaffold that was supporting you is no longer there. So we came up with the idea of the dissertation writing circle as a support community to help students find community and to keep up with who's defending, who's advancing and who's not, and to provide support, because ultimately we care about you. In our program, we become family, and it's not like now you're done, you're out of sight, out of mind. And so those of you who have just finished your portfolio and you've advanced to the candidacy, I don't know if you've received the invitation, but you're welcome to join the dissertation writing circle. And it's low maintenance, but it's a way of providing community and resource. And for this year, we have a lineup. I am the first, but it's a bit behind because, as I mentioned, I am on sabbatical, but we have a lineup of 6 webinars for the academic year, which will be offered to you at no cost. So this is the first, so keep looking for those. So the first thing I want to say is congratulations. Congratulations. If you can give me a clap hand with your emojis, please do that. You know, I recognize in my own life, and mostly through the prompting of my husband, that I don't celebrate enough. For those of you who are in cohort 14, celebrate the end of the first year. Some people don't even get that far, right? And for those of you who have finished, celebrate. So congratulations. I know we have some students here who are doing theses for their master's project. Congratulations. What an accomplishment. So I think we need to make those mile marks in our journey, because it really encourages us and motivates us to continue. So I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy you made this decision to pursue higher education, and you're going to be in the top smallest percentage of people who actually begin and complete. What did I say? and complete. We don't do the ABD here. We don't do that, okay? So getting the dissertation done. I wanted to begin, which is really not how usually we talk about what the research says and the theories and the best practices, but I wanted to talk with you as a big sister, auntie, whatever you want to call me. As I have seen students progress through the dissertation, one thing that has really annoyed me is we have adopted a certain kind of mindset about dissertation work and that we have to struggle and survive it. So there's a book of that title. And I want us to flip that paradigm. You're not trying to survive your dissertation. My aim, my intention for you is that you should thrive through the dissertation. Thriving the dissertation. Thriving the dissertation. If you have to write that down somewhere, stick it up and put Dr. H next to it. I am going to thrive through my dissertation. And that simple choice of word is actually not very simple because it flips the switch quite a bit. And so one of the things I want to say about you about getting the dissertation done is what I know about the dissertation process and writing is this. Wiki, what I know is it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work. Was I not supposed to say that? Were you expecting me to say this is easy and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and you follow these steps, you'll be done? I'm sorry. It is a lot of work, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It can be good hard work or hard work. There is such a thing as good hard work. You know, John Lewis would talk about good trouble. I think a dissertation work is good trouble. It's good hard work. And so whether it becomes good hard or hard is based on what I have come to accept by a very well-known scholar and thinker, Kevin Hart, who says, everybody wants to be famous, but nobody wants to do the work. I live by that. You grind hard so you can play hard. At the end of the day, you put all the work in and eventually it'll pay off. It could be in a year, it could be in 30 years. Well, not in this case. Eventually your hard work will pay off. So, I read somewhere that the elevator to success is broken. You're going to have to take the steps. And you're going to have to take them one at a time. And so I think one of the most important things is to embrace reality of what it is and flip the switch in terms of how you think about it. My dissertation journey was one of the best learning experiences in my life. One of the best. And I can look back with wisdom now. I didn't always appreciate it fully that way, but now I can say, I wish I had some of the wisdom I had now, because every moment is your life. Every moment is your life. The good, the bad, the happy, the sad, every moment is your life. And so we have a choice. You have a choice. The choice is yours. And the mindset shift for us, for you, that I want for you, because if you can adopt it, you're going to have a certain peace and happiness in the process, that this is great. It's good hard work. It is good trouble. Listen, I feel like preaching and I'm not even in church. It is good trouble. So the choice is yours. Are you going to make that mindset shift? And I'm talking especially for those who have just started the process of beginning that dissertation journey. They're finished with their coursework. So some of the things I share here is some affirmations, and this is just the beginning, but I want you to think about what you're going to stick up above your special place And so my dad did not finish high school. He worked as a taxi driver, taking money so that I could go to school. And so when you look at some of these, I am privileged to be at this point in the journey, a PhD candidate. Woot, woot. Yes, I am privileged. I'm going to enjoy climbing the mountain. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. I love working on my dissertation. I love this topic. Ooh, this is interesting stuff. Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. So I want to see perhaps in the chat box, what are some of you, what are some affirmations or some motivational quotes that you use to get you going? The salient point here is I want you to think about is, are you going to be one of those who succumb to the pernicious idea that dissertation work is something that you have to survive? That whole idea puts you in a very sort of victim kind of mode. Or are you leading your life and taking hold of this great opportunity that you've been given to pursue higher education? And are you going to thrive through the process? Thriving the dissertation. What is some, if you don't have, I suggest that you get some as soon as possible. What I cannot see light, success is a lot of small things done well, day after day, workout after workout. Yes, every step forward gives me more energy to do the next thing. Absolutely. And so it may seem like a trivial thing, but if you take nothing else from this presentation, I want you to take that. You get to determine, you get to set the climate around how you will walk this dissertation journey, and whether you want to make it hard or good hard. I say good hard every day. I can handle it. I love that. I can handle it. Okay, so mindset shift. Number 2, handle the time challenge. Listen, I know everybody here is a working adult, or we have multiple responsibilities as caregivers, as husbands, as brothers, as uncles, as aunts, what have you. Time is a challenge. So how are you going to handle it? How am I going to handle it? So I found that there's some misconceptions that come along with writing and with how we can handle the time challenge. So let me just go through a few of them. Certain misconceptions is, to make progress, I must have huge blocks of time. Well, I got to tell you, that is always my preference. That's a good preference. But the reality is that it would be great to have, but is your life like that? Is your current situation, does it afford you to have? I'm going to show you what my current schedule looks like in a bit, and I'm on sabbatical, so it looks great. But usually it doesn't look like that, because I'm running my kids to piano, to the doctor's office, to this, to that. So J.K. Rowling, the famous author of the Harry Potter series, she says she writes on planes, trains, automobiles. She writes here, there, everywhere. I have gotten into the habit of every day I walk, writing when I walk. How do I do that? If I have an idea, I stop and I speak it into my phone. And when I come home, I send it to my email and I put it into a document. And I find some of my best ideas come when I'm walking and so on. Has anybody else ever done that? So it would be great. It's a luxury to have huge blocks of time. But if you don't have it, you can make progress waiting at the doctor's office, waiting at the dentist's office, or what have you. And I'll tell you some of the things that can work with regards to getting that kind of progress done. But I will say blocks of times, absolutely. A little progress each day adds up to big results. And there's a Swahili expression that says, little by little, the pot gets filled. So I know somebody posted a comment almost similar to that a while ago. So I can't write yet because I have not read enough. Listen, that is one of the most pernicious thief of time. It will get you procrastinating and procrastinating and procrastinating. And unfortunately or unfortunately for you, we live in an age where information is ubiquitous. It just keeps coming at you. It keeps coming. I don't think you can exhaust the literature around your topic in one lifetime. And so we as writers, for me, this is what I know about myself, and it's also proven through that often writing is a way of thinking. If you have the idea, when you begin to write, something happens and you get into a state of flow, and the idea begins to write you. It just begins to come forward. So start writing no matter what. The water does not flow until the faucet is turned on. And I'll share with you a little bit. You're like, how can I do that? I need my sources. I need my citation. Start writing no matter what. When you go exercising, how you do a warm up, you do your stretches and all of that. Writing is the same thing. It's a habit, it's a muscle. And so before you begin writing in full, we usually recommend most writers who do writing a lot, they do warm up exercises where they get writing a little bit to get the water flowing. Another misconception, I just don't have the time. And I will be the first to admit that I too am often time crunched, having two kids in school, trying to serve in so many different capacities. But again, Octavia Butler, who wrote, The Parable of the Sower, she held on many jobs as a telemarketer, as this, that, the other, so she could write. J.K. Rowling, she was a waitress again when she wrote Harry Potter. If you've read The Kite Runner, I can't say his name, but he wrote that book when he was a medical doctor. You know how busy their schedules are. So if this is important to you, and it is, you have invested money, time, and effort, and you have a host of people supporting, a whole cast, who was not represented here today, supporting you in this journey. So you can and you must make the time to get your dissertation done. And so you're probably thinking, as I mentioned those names, yeah, but I'm not them. And I would admit that all those examples that I used, they were doing a different kind of writing. They were doing fiction writing. In our case, when you're doing nonfiction, it really does require a lot more of you in terms of skill set, finding articles, researching, etc. So this is the practical side. For those of you who have just finished coursework, do a time and activity audit. So where can you create time in your schedule for daily writing? What can you decide to stop doing or limit doing so you can write? Okay. And so from a personal example, I realized that I was staying up late. I'm talking about currently. I would come home from work, I would want to decompress, and I would stay up late switching through Netflix, trying to find a movie, and sometimes not even finding a movie. And so I looked at my schedule and I said, you know what? There's so much going on, especially during the pandemic. I need to look at where I can save time during the day. So when I'm walking, I download articles and books on my phone. So I am always in the literature around the topic. Does anybody else do that? I need some feedback. Does anybody? I do that when I'm walking. And I already told you, good, Paul, I already told you, I write when I'm walking. I stop and I take notes, speaking into my phone. And I just realized that somebody says, what else? Let me see. Yes, Brenda says she does that too. I realized that if I wanted to achieve the goals that God had placed on my heart and that he was going to hold me accountable, I needed to trim the fat. Do you know what I mean? I needed to trim the fat. So I set a schedule for myself to go to bed at 9. Do I always hit it? No. And to wake up at 5 and to write in the morning for about 2 hours after I do my devotion and everything. So you have to create that schedule. I don't know what it is for you, but look through your schedule and trim the fat. And listen, this is just going to be for a short period of time. This is not going to be your life. So talk to your significant others, those in your circle, and decide where to trim the fat in terms of what activities can you stop doing or limit doing, or what can you outsource? Perhaps if you can afford to get somebody to clean your house or do things for you that you could use your time elsewhere working on a dissertation. Now, I will say, when you're doing that, be clear about what you value. This is very critical. Separate the important from the necessary and do the necessary first. By that, I mean, there are some things in our lives that they are necessary. They are time bound. They are meaningful to us. And I would say for me, for many years, this is not writing related, but just work related. I said no to a lot of leadership opportunities so I could say yes to my children, so I could say yes to my husband. To me, that was necessary because of what I valued. And I think sometimes in our lives, we don't make that distinction. Important things, they're important, but they're not necessary and need to be done. If I miss out this time with my children, I will not get it back. And so I made that decision. So when you're trimming, be clear about what you value and make sure that you are separating what's important from what is necessary and what's meaningful to you. So I'll just give you a little, one thing that I regret during my dissertation research. I was dating my husband at the time, and he invited me to go to the Grand Canyon. And I was like, oh no, I got this paper to do. I can't go. No, right? Now, I did graduate with a 4.0, but that means diddly squat to me now. I mean, I have my doctorate, but if I had gotten a B, I'd be all right. I'd be all right, right? And we have not been back. It's something we plan to do, but I didn't separate from myself what really was valuable for me at that point and make that risk assessment. So this is what I am suggesting to you. And I don't know what it is for you, but you're going to have to do that. So next, do a dissertation writing schedule, plan, and timeline. And this is a multi-step process. How many of you have something like that? So there are many levels to this. The first level that I usually say to students is you need to do a dissertation timeline, and we give them a template for that. And that's really just broadly in terms of, I hope to have chapters 1, 2, or 3 done by this time. I hope to have chapters 5 done by this time, and so on. But I'm talking about getting into the weeds here. And this may not apply for everybody because some people think it's a lot of work, but it really helps. So as I mentioned, I am on sabbatical, so I had the luxury. This is not usually what my life looks like, but this is actually my schedule. I created it, and I am very much techie, but I find with certain things, paper works best for me. So I have this stuck up. So you'll see in yellow my writing times, and my goal is to have 4 hours of writing every day except on weekends. Do I always hit it? No, right? So, and I just have about almost everything I could think about in there. And you'll see that I said what I told you. I go to bed at 9 and I get up at 5. And so that's what my writing schedule looks like. So you need to create a schedule that works for you. Let me see, what do I have? I have all kinds of stuff there, like chores, everything that laundry, personal hygiene, you name it. Because I'm trying to figure out how can I use my day. And if it isn't working for me, I'm going to adjust as I go along. So that's my personal schedule. It's in my planner, and it's in my planner. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, though, so this is the first level. Well, first I talked about having a broad timeline for your dissertation. That's what Kyle referred to. But now this is my daily schedule, right? This is my daily schedule to help me get to my goals. But what I find, you'll see that I have writing. A lot of students don't think of writing broadly enough. If you've done a business project, you know about workflow. There's a workflow to writing. So if you say, I'm going to write today, what does that mean? So you'll see I've tried to break down some of the different tasks, and I didn't even start all the way to the left, because finding articles, finding articles, doing literature searches, that is part of the writing process. Then I have reading, note-taking, synthesizing, outlining, drafting, revising times n. How many number of times are you going to have to revise? After you revise, revising is moving stuff all around. Then you have editing and proofreading, and then it goes to your chair. Guess what happens when it goes to your chair? Anybody knows? Guess what usually happens when it goes to your chair? I do feedback, right? Feedback. Oh yes, lots and lots and lots of feedback. And what will happen is that you will most likely get bumped back to the revising phase again. And then you go forward again. So when you set up your writing schedule, you need to recognize, like if I go back, although I can't see for some reason. I don't know what happened. Let me go forward. It's going forward rather than going. Oh, there it is. The arrows had disappeared. Please excuse me. I'll get back to where I was. Okay, so you'll see I just have writing time, but writing time is very broad. I moved you over to this screen so you can see that when you think about what you're going to do, you need to differentiate. You need to break apart the tasks related to writing and determine what you're going to do for that particular period of time or whatever, and consider it all writing. Sometimes we feel as though we're not writing if we're not actually have words, count and so on. All of this is part of the process. And so from there now, I have a writing log what did I use? I think I use Excel or Google Forms for this. I think this is Google Forms, where I keep a track of how much I'm writing, what section I'm working on, and which of the activities I am doing. I don't just have writing, right? And so I know it's not the best. And then I say how much words I have, and then I make some notes about myself. So in looking back, I can see, hey, it seems to me as though I write better in the evening or midday or when I've had a really good night's rest or what have you. And then I can see how many hours I have spent on this. Now, it may seem like a lot to you. Does it seem like a lot? Does it seem like I'm a type A person? Let me tell you, I have not always done this, but when I started doing this, I started seeing lots of results that, you need to be organized and systemized in terms of how you are approaching your writing. Any questions, any comments about that? No? So first point was mindset shift. The second point is develop a habit of writing. Is that what I said? No, it wasn't what I said. I need to
Handle the time challenge.
handle, thank you, thank you. Handle the time challenge. And one of the ways that you do this is recognize the misconceptions that you have. And so let me just give you an example here. On Wednesdays, I drop my daughter off to a homeschool co-op, and I go to my office and I write. So there are times when I don't have really focused time per se, but I still am able to get stuff done. And so I'm saying do that. So develop the habit of writing. For your dissertation, if you haven't done it already, I know a lot of students get through coursework just kind of like making it under the wire. Listen, do I have a witness? You don't have to put your hand up. You're like, oh boy, I got to stay up. I got to pull an all-nighter. I got to get this paper in, right? Well, that's not going to cut it for the dissertation, because it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And so one of the strategies is that you have to recognize that you need to develop a habit. A habit becomes almost automatic. You don't even think about it because you have done what you need to do to create a habit. And they say it takes 21 days to develop a habit. Most coaches will tell you should try to extend it to 30 days. So that begins with, once we have done the first work, understand yourself. What kind of writer are you? And I'll go to the second point. What are your life circumstances? If you have a young baby in the house, you can't probably do what I do, get up at 5, right? Because you're going to be up with the baby. So what kind of writer? Are you a morning, evening person? Do you really need big chunks? So that's critical to setting up your system for how you're going to develop a habit of writing. And then once you've done that, you need to cultivate the writing habit. So there are a number of exercises, and I could share that. Sometimes you always do a warm-up when you sit down to write. Just think about some aspect of your dissertation, or reflect on some point that you were thinking about, something that really struck you when you were reading. And just set a timer and just write for 5 minutes. Don't stop to correct, to think too long. Just write for 5 minutes. Just go as fast as you can. That's like a warm up before you go for your exercise. It gets your mind thinking, it gets you situated. And then when the timer goes off, you're done. You look at it, maybe something you keep, maybe not, but it has warmed you up to writing. And so now your writing workout, I mean, if you exercise regularly, your writing workout, write consistently, same time, same place, and if possible, same length of time. So, and I would say give yourself grace, because like I said, I showed you my schedule. Do I always meet it? No. But when I get up, I know that I should be at my desk at like maybe 6 o'clock. I am writing. My mind is all set because that's what I've been doing. And it's no biggie now, right? So write distraction free. I'd like to recommend this cool app that I use. I don't have anybody with me. So if you know it, or you can Google it, just put it in the chat box. It's called Promo Focus, and it's free. And I just use it because what happens to most of us now is we're on the computer and we hear ping. Oh, we hear, let me just check Facebook and see. Let me just go over here and so Promo Focus. It's a psychological. It helps you psychologically because you set the time. You say, I'm going to work for 25 minutes nonstop, and then at the end of 25 minutes. You get a time break for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You can set the timer, and then you can say, okay, let me go check my Facebook page. Oh, I don't know what it is for you, but you know what I'm talking about. But in the process of writing for that 25 minutes, if you should take off your notifications, right? But okay, I have 5 more minutes and then I could go for a walk or what have you. So I really, really love that app. Anybody uses that? Did somebody find it for me? I love the Pomodoro method. Yes, good. So that it's based on that method, but this is a little app. It runs at the top of it's a minimized screen and it's counting down whatever the time is set. And then you hear the bell ring when you're done, but it helps you focus. Get your equipment, your tools. You guys are pros at this now, but you should know you need a number of things. You need a RefWorks manager. You need a writing program, and you need a notes and file system. And there are many, there are many ways to do that. In the next webinar that's coming up, I'm going to team up with Lenita, my teaching assistant. We're going to talk some more about that. But you guys know RefWorks or Zotero. What do you use? That's your reference works manager. And for me, ideally, it should be one where you can just import the reference straight from your computer and it goes straight into your RefWorks. It should be seamless because less steps, it saves you time. A writing program, Microsoft Word. Of course, some people like to work in Google Docs. Google Docs is also very good if you know how to use it. I use Google Docs, but I also use a program called Scrivener, and somebody could also look that up if you're interested. I would not recommend it unless you really plan to do a lot of writing because it has a bit of a sharp learning curve, but I love Scrivener because the way it organizes your dissertation, it's mind-blowing because with Microsoft Word, you got to open this file, then open that file. But in Scrivener, you can see all the chapters and you can move stuff around. And again, that's something I think we would think maybe we might have a session on that. But only get that if you're really serious about writing and you really want to commit to it because it has a steep learning curve. I spoke about keeping a log. And then I spoke about breaking down the task into manageable. Oh, no, I didn't. I'm going to talk about that next. Keep a log and now breaking down the task into manageable writing chunks or SMART goals. Now, if you have created a workflow for your writing, then this becomes easy. And I'm sure most of you are aware of SMART goals, but we're going to talk about that. So now I'm just going to go popcorn through some of my top 10 best pointers for finishing your dissertation, but I want to take a break here to see if anybody has a question. No? Okay, are you sure? Good, so let me continue. My top 10. Think David Letterman had something he would do. I never really watch it, but my husband, my top 10. It's not funny though. It's mine, not funny, okay? Dr. H's top 10. Set up a file management system early in the process. It seems so elementary, but it will save you so much headache. So for instance, with my students, we often come across these problems. There become so many iterations of a chapter that you have to determine, how am I going to identify? Am I going to delete old ones? Am I going to say version 2, version 3? Am I going to have a working draft folder and then a final draft? So there are lots of resources out there for how to do that. But again, as I mentioned, the next webinar, we're going to talk very practically again about how to set up a file management system. And I would say think long-term, because a dissertation is a commitment to becoming a scholar and thinker. You think your writing is done when you finish your dissertation? No, 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 no. You have taken on the responsibility to be a thinker and a contributor to discourse. So you need to keep those files and have easy access to those resources. So think about it, spend maybe an hour or two just really thinking about, how am I going to organize this, working between my reference manager, my writing tool, and my notes file system and make sure it's something that works well for you. So that's my first thing. So this is something that I did for my dissertation journey, and it's something I recommend for those of you who are a little I'm a very structured person, so I needed structure. So once the coursework was done, I created a syllabus for myself. I actually created 3. It wasn't as involved as my coursework. One was to finish my dissertation. One was to look for a job. And I don't remember what the third one was. And so when I say create a syllabus, just like, use the course description, and then what are the assignments and when are they due? That's I know what the third one was. The third one was publication. So I created 3 syllabi for myself. And if you're that type of person, you might find it helpful. And so, I wrote down the due date. So when I said those things were going to be due, and I was going to be accountable to myself. So that was very helpful to me. Next, build in accountability and support. Accountability is huge, 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 huge. I credit getting through my dissertation with working alongside my sister friend, who eventually wrote the book, Finish Your Dissertation, Don't Let It Finish You. Dr. Joan Brother Summerson. We held each other accountable with regular check-ins and making sure that we were on track. And so one of the ways that the dissertation writing circle function is to help you, if you're interested, find what we call a WAG, a writing accountability group. And what is a WAG? It's an active writing group that meets X times regularly. You determine it exists to help people establish good writing habits. It's focused on developing a process and habit of writing. And it's about accountability. There is no content review of writing because it's just about helping you develop the habit. So it shouldn't become burdensome because everybody's trying to write and finish. So I'll probably follow up in the group to see if some people would like assistance in reaching out to other people in the group, or if you have your own group, that is fine. It doesn't have to be 3 people, it could be 2, but you have a system. So I'm currently working on a book, which I'm almost done, with 2 other people, and every month we met. Every month for the last almost year we met. We would set goals, and then we would meet to discuss those goals and where we were and what needed to be done. So that's what I'm talking about. And you can customize it to what works for you, but that is huge. Some other things I've done is some of my articles that I'm writing, I've had people who we're both trying to do our work. So this was my modification. We would email each other a message at the start of 1 week or 2 weeks and say, this week I'm working on this. And then at the end of the cycle, we would report back to each other. I finished this, I didn't finish that. Here's my plan for next week. So that is huge. And in keeping with that, one of the things that is important if you're having a WAG is that you make SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. Specific, I am going to read and take notes on 2 articles this week. Or this week, I'm going to write 2,000 words in chapter 2. So it's very easy at the end of the week to measure whether you accomplished that, as opposed to, I'm going to read some articles, I'm going to write, right? Very specific, very time bound, so you can hold yourself accountable. So next, manage the relationships with chair and committee members. So these are things that I'm telling you as a big sister friend kind of person. You don't have to listen to me, but I tell my students the dissertation will get done. It will get done. But you also need to manage the relationships. Manage the relationships. And it depends on what you want out of it. By that, I mean, stay in touch with your chair. give her or him updates or feedbacks. Begin your email or your communication, and I don't think I should have to say this, with the right tone. I know this is the age of texting and all of that, but sometimes I got to tell you, as a chair, I'm appalled by some of the emails, and it's not even emails, it's just a one-liner. It's just like there's no greeting, or there's nothing. I say to students, the work that a chair does for you, you cannot pay them. It is so much work you wouldn't believe until you get to the other side. Reading a dissertation, if you're reading it well, takes a lot of mental energy, and we are invested in our students. We want them to succeed. So manage that relationship. Also, your chair, depending on how you navigate the relationship, can open doors for you, can help you move on post-dissertation to publish, can introduce you to people in the field, can let you know about conferences and so on. But this is not just about opportunity. I am just talking about just human courtesy and kindness. Manage the relationship. It's not just about your dissertation. You have to attend to the dissertation, but also attend to the relationship with your chair and your committee members. It will take you far. And my little story about that is my dissertation chair, and my second committee member, they were at my wedding. I see them, we talk, they've seen my children. My former chair, he wrote my reference letter for me to get to Eastern University. He sponsored me to my first academic conference. I wasn't looking for any of that, but I was minding the relationship. And so take that from big sister. Adopt a cover memo system for revisions. This is huge. I also serve as a copy editor for a number of journals. And this is a system we use, which it will be helpful for you to adopt early in the process. If you have to go, it's fine. It's being recorded. So at least I think it is, because I realize we're going a bit long. So I want to show you what that looks like. When you submit a chapter to your chair and you get it back with copious comments, your job is to go through those comments and find the ones that are substantive. What I mean is, if they say you're missing a comma here or you're missing, ignore those. Those that are substantive. And when you return your revised paper to your chair, take the time as a courtesy to her and to help you, because it will help the chair move through more efficiently, to probably highlight the areas that you have changed, put them in a different font. Of course, get rid of the comments, because I don't know what your chair will want, but most of us, it just gets too muddy if you keep the comments there. So you highlight all the changes that you make, and then you create a memo. And the best way to do this is to create this document as you're making the revisions. So if you would see that, this is something that I pulled together from a student. The feedback from the committee was insightful. You're always courteous, Thank you for your continued support. You mightn't be feeling this, but you say it. You say it anyway. And then you go back. So on the left, you see the student has written the comment from the committee. And then on the right, she puts her response as well as a page number, where it's good to put a page number. This is golden for a chair, because like me, I read so many dissertations. I don't read by the time you get your dissertation back to me, I don't remember what you were saying, what I said, when I said how, right? So this helps the reader to go through quickly by only focusing on those changes that you've made. And this is the same system we use when people submit articles to publication and we tell them that there needs to be feedback. I'm going to take your question, Kyle, in a minute. we ask them to submit this cover memo when they have revised. Yes, Kyle, go ahead.
Thanks, Dr. Hernandez. I've worked it out with my chair that I submit both a clean version and a track changes version after she's provided me with comments. So I'll talk with her about this memo option and seeing if that would do better. But right now, again, I show in my document where I've addressed her comments through track changes, but I also provide her with a clean version as well.
Sure. And so, like I said, these are my rules. So what I have worked, I don't know who your chair is, but I've been doing this for some time now, and I have actually shared this strategy with other committee members, and they're just like, this is brilliant. This is brilliant because, and because if you don't, well, in your case, you're submitting the track changes. If you don't submit this to me, when I see your document again, it's like I have to read everything over. The other reason why I would push in this direction is because this is precisely what is used for publishing by copy editors, but do what works for your chair. Okay? Are you there, Kyle?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. So next, turn in only polished drafts. It's called a draft, but don't let that fool you. When you turn in something to your chair, it should be like your 4th, 5th, or 6th edition of that, because you're going to frustrate the chair in the process if it's not well written, and also it's going to slow you down. This is key. It's going to slow you down. So in a lot of cases, sometimes students have to send back stuff multiple times with one chapter. And don't feel, this is all part of the process. Multiple times we're going back over the chapter. And for most chairs, when we get a chapter, you have to give us about 2 or 3 weeks to read that because we have to schedule that in. So in the process of writing your chapters, communicate with your chair, say, listen, I'm almost done with this. Can I just talk this through with you, or give you a skeleton outline? That's also helpful. So at least you know in terms of content, you and your chair are there. And so when you're ready to submit the draft, if you can afford it, if you're a good writer, wonderful. If you know this is not your strong suit, then get a copy editor or get somebody in your circle who can go through and really polish off that draft for you. Only polished draft. Don't halfway, well, I was thinking, could you just look at this little piece? No. And again, this is me. Use time wisely while you wait for feedback. I've heard students say I'm just waiting on my chair. What? Listen, there's so much stuff for you to do. So much stuff for you to do. If you're in your last stages, you can work on the front matter. You can work on your acknowledgements. You can write thank you notes for the people who help you. You can begin drafting a proposal for a presentation, or doing some research on what places that you can publish your work. Even if you're collecting data and you're still analyzing the data, you can begin drafting certain parts of the last chapter. So there is a lot that you can do while you wait. You can format your tables. You can create a report in regular prose for the company or the organization where you did the work. You can begin working on a paper for publication. And you might think, let me finish. No. You know why? Because it's fresh in your mind. And you're in it. So this is the best time to really begin while you're waiting for your chair to read or give you feedback. There's a lot to do. Think beyond the dissertation while you write. And this is what I alluded to. While you're writing, while it's fresh in your mind, and there are times when you might be waiting on your chair, you can begin thinking about, how can I rewrite certain sections into a proposal for presentation or publication, as the case may be. Send a thank you note card to chair committee others when you are done. And so finally, make it your intent to thrive through the dissertation journey. I have not always thought that, and I know, so usually when you have children, people will tell you it goes by so fast. It goes by so fast. But when you're in it, especially for the first time, you're just like, oh my goodness, this is so much work. What did I do? And so on. But with my second child, I determined, that I was going to enjoy, I was going to thrive through the process, through the messy diapers, through the getting up, not sleeping through the night. It's the same thing with your dissertation. You are in control. This is a great learning opportunity. Determine that you are going to thrive through the process, and it's going to be great. It's going to be hard, great. It's going to be good trouble. So that's the end of the presentation. I'm sorry it went a bit long, but I do hope that you found it helpful. I'll stop the recording.